until Yahweh at last wiped out the terrible act that was the cause of everything. A sin I committed as an innocent child for love for the man who was then called Abram. A sin or a word I wasn't able to hear, for we knew so little then. 2 nights ago I received another sign from Yahweh. I had a dream with my eyes wide open. I was still breathing peacefully, but my body was stiff and cold. In the darkness of the tent, I suddenly heard the banging of metal tools on stone and the voices of men at work. I wanted to get up and look, but before I could lift myself up on my elbow, I saw with my eyes what only the spirit of dreams can make us see. It was no longer night, but day. The sun shone down on the white cliff in the mouth of the cave of Machpelah. That was where men had been working since the first light of dawn, building walls, thick, solid walls. A beautiful facade, complete with door and windows. They were building our tomb. The tomb of Abraham and his wife, Sarah. I shall be the first to take my place in it. My beloved Abraham will lay my body there so at last I can attain the peace of the other world. My dream faded. I opened my eyes. The tent was dark. But the meaning of the dream remained with me. All of us to whom Abraham's invisible God revealed himself. This now numerous people to whom he offered his covenant for all eternity. We know only cities of tents, cities of desert and wind and wandering. Yet I, Sarah, was born in a house with 30 rooms, in a city that contained 100 similar houses, its most beautiful temple as high as the hill of Kiryat Arba, its outer walls thicker than an ox. In my whole life, following Abraham into the mountains where the Euphrates rises, walking beside him in search of the land of Canaan, or even as far as Egypt, I have never seen a city as splendid as the I knew as a child, and I have never forgotten it. Nor have I forgotten what I was taught there, that the strength of the people of Sumer and Akkad lies in the beauty of their cities, the solidity of their walls, the perfection of their irrigation systems, the magnificence of their gardens. So when day had broken, I went to see Abraham. While he ate, I told him what I had seen in my dream. It's time for our people to build walls, houses, and cities, I said. Time for us to take root in this land. Remember how we loved the walls of Salem, how dazzled we were by Pharaoh's palaces. But in this camp, the camp of the great King Abraham, the man who hears the word of Yahweh and is heard by him, the women still weave canvas for tents as they did when your father Terah's clan camped beneath the walls of Ur, in the space reserved for the Martu, the men with no city. Abraham listened, never taking his eyes off me. I know you've always missed the walls of your city, he said, smiling, and his beard quivered. He took my fingers in his, and for a long moment we remained still. 2 old bodies linked by our hands, and by the thousands of tender words we no longer need to speak. At last, I said what I had been wanting to say since my dream had faded. When I've stopped breathing, I want you to bury me in the cave of Machpelah, on the hill of Kiryat Arba. The gardens around it are the most beautiful I've seen since the gardens of my father's palace. Once you've buried me, bring masons from Salem or Beersheba. Ask them to build walls at the mouth of the cave, the most beautiful, most solid walls they can build, for the tomb of Abraham and Sarah. It will be our people's first house, a place for them to gather, in all their great number, happy and confident. Isaac and Ishmael will be with them. Isn't it up to us, with the help of Yahweh, to ensure the future? Abraham had no need to promise me he would carry out my wishes. I know he will, for he always has. Now I can wait in peace for my breath to leave me. Wait and remember. There is no wind, and yet above me the leaves of the poplar tremble, filling the air with a noise like rain. Under the cedars and acacias the light dances in patches of molten gold. A fragrance of lily and mint comes to rest on my lips. Swallows play and sing above the cliff. just like that day. The day the blood flowed for the first time between my thighs. The day the long life of Sarai, daughter of Ishbi-Sum-Usur, daughter of Taram, began. Part 1. The Bridal Blood. Sarai clumsily pushed aside the curtain that hung in the doorway and ran to the middle of the brick terrace that overlooked the women's courtyard. Dawn was breaking, and there was just enough light for her to see the blood on her hands. She closed her eyes to hold back the tears. She did not need to look down to know that her tunic was stained. She could feel the fine woolen cloth sticking wetly to her thighs and knees. Here it was again, a sharp pain like a demon's claw moving between her hips. She stood frozen, her eyes half closed. The pain faded as suddenly as it had come. Sarai held out her soiled hands in front of her. She should have implored Anana, the almighty Lady of Heaven, but no word passed her lips. She was petrified. Only a moment ago she had woken suddenly, her belly ringed with pain, and put her hands between her thighs, into this blood that was flowing out of her for the first time. The bridal blood, the blood that creates life. She looked at her blood-stained hands as if they did not belong to her. Something strange was happening in her body, something that had obliterated her happy childhood at a stroke. Tomorrow, and the day after tomorrow, and all the days and years to come, would be different. She knew what awaited her, what awaited every girl in whom the bridal blood flowed. Her handmaid Silili and all the other women in the household would laugh. They would dance and sing and give thanks to Nintu, the midwife of the world. But Sarai felt no joy. At that moment she wished her body was someone else's. She thought of the advice Silili had given her. Change your tunic, take off the sheet, roll the soiled straw in it, go to the door and take some balls of wool dipped in sweet oil, wash your thighs and genitals with them, then take some other balls, scented with essence of terebinth, and use them to absorb the blood. All she had to do was perform a few simple actions, but she couldn't. She didn't know why, but she couldn't bear even the thought of touching herself. Why did the blood running between her thighs make her more adult? Why, at the same time as she gained the freedom to speak, was she going to lose the freedom to act? For that was what was going to happen. Now, in exchange for a few silver shekels or a few measures of barley, her father could give her to a man, a stranger she might have to hate for the rest of her days. Why did things have to happen that way? Why not another way? Anger and denial swept through her. She couldn't stay here in the dark, but she didn't want to wake Silili. Once Silili took charge, things would really start. She had to flee beyond the wall that enclosed the city, perhaps as far as the bend in the Euphrates, where the labyrinth of the lower city and the reedy lagoons stretched over dozens of oos. That was another world, a fascinating but hostile world, and Sarai wasn't brave enough to go there. Instead, she took refuge in the huge garden. She hid in a tamarisk grove clinging to the oldest part of the wall. When the tamarisks were in bloom, their huge pink flowers spread like luxuriant hair over the wall and could be seen clear across the city. They had become the distinguishing feature of the house of Ishbi-Sum-Usur, son of Ella Dumtu, lord of merchant and high-ranking official in the service of King Amar-Sin, who ruled the empire of by the will of Almighty Ea. "Sarai, Sarai!" She recognized the voices, her sister Lilu's piercing shriek and Silili's more muted and anxious tones. From where she was, Sarai could see everything but could not be seen. Her father's house was one of the most beautiful in the royal city. It was shaped like a hand enclosing a huge rectangular central courtyard. At either end, the courtyard was separated by two green and yellow brick buildings, open only for receptions and celebrations, and by two smaller courtyards, the women's and the men's. Both opened onto a broad terrace, which allowed the men to join the women at night without having to cross the courtyards. From her grove, Sarai could also see a large part of the city, and towering over it like a mountain, the ziggurat, the sublime platform. Not a day went by that she did not come here to admire the gardens of the ziggurat. They were a lake of foliage between earth and sky, full of every flower and every tree the gods had sown on the earth. She stiffened when she heard the shouts. "Sarai! Answer me, Sarai! I know you're there! Do you want to die today with the shame of the gods on you?" She recognized the thick calves, the yellow and white tunic with its black border instantly. "Silili? Who else were you expecting?" the handmaid retorted in an angry whisper.